I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Today's episode is going to be a market update for Tampa Bay for Q1 2026. Can't wait to give you the rundown and explain to you what all of these numbers mean. Let me just tell you that I'm pulling data and information that applies to single-family homes in the greater Tampa Bay region. So that's going to include 4 counties, making up of Hillsborough County, Pasco County, Pinellas County, and Hernando County. And I'm really excited to report this data and this information. I actually have some additional layers of information and data I will be breaking down for you. And before we jump in, let's just talk about what kind of market are we in. You hear a lot of stuff out there, people saying, oh, it's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market. No one even talks about a balanced market. What is that? A balanced market is a 6 to 12 month supply of homes, and anything 12 months or greater is a buyer's market. And so what that means is basic economics, supply and demand, right? So a seller's market means that there's a pretty good number of buyers in the market compared to the number of homes on the market. I'll break down what that means and how that works. But keep in mind, we are very much so in a seller's market still. And we're actually seeing an improvement in the numbers and the information regarding the seller's market. Going back to 2008, that was an extreme buyer's market, right? The housing crash, some of you may remember how crazy that was. That was a buyer's market, more than a 12-month supply of homes. So as real estate pros, we follow what we call the absorption rate. The absorption rate means with the number of homes on the market and the number of buyers in the market, if all of those homes sold, how many months would it take to sell that existing supply of homes? That's what we call the absorption rate, or the number of supply of homes on the market. So 0 to 6 months being a seller's market. So let's go ahead and give you the rundown as we talk about Q1 of 2026. So closed sales is actually down a little bit, coming in at 6.7% over Q1 of last year in 2025. So we're coming in at 8,422 closed sales for the first quarter, January through March, in all 4 counties, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and Hernando, talking about single-family homes. This does not include condos or townhomes or mobile or manufactured homes. This is just single-family data. The number of cash sales is actually down a pretty significant number too, 21.8% down in cash. So last year in Q1, we had 2,632 homes paid in cash for all of first quarter. This year in Q1 2026, we have 2,057 home sales actually closed in cash. So that's down almost 22% for cash sales over last year. Pretty consistent with what we're seeing in the market, where mostly what we're seeing is financed offers, a lot of closing costs where buyers are asking for closing costs by the seller. Pretty normal in what we're seeing in this market. Most of the transactions are absolutely financed, very few are cash. And we're seeing that pretty consistent in what I see compared to how this data is showing up. Now, the median sales price, this is a really good number because it tells you what most homes are selling for in the greater metro area. It's not the average, but it's the median. So everything that's selling right in the middle. And that is pretty consistent, like literally no change from first quarter. So last year was right at 400,000. So 399,991. This year it's coming in 399,999. So let's just say right at that $400,000 number. Pretty consistent with what we've seen for the last several years, which means our market and the prices are balancing themselves out. Now, there's some other information here that shows the average sales price. This is everything, including your $1 million plus properties, which we're going to get into some additional numbers on this. Our average sales price is coming in at $508,953, and that's up 1.6% over Q1 in 2025. What does that mean? Well, some more expensive properties have sold in that average price point. And the median percentage of original list price. This is important because it tells you if a property is on the market for $400,000, what percentage of that original list price did the property actually sell for. So that's the median percent of original list price. And this is down just a little bit. Last year in quarter one, it was showing 95.9%. This year it's coming in at 95.6%. So simple math on a $100,000 property. If it's listed for $100,000, it would sell for $95,600. Obviously, multiply that a little bit because we're closer to $400,000, but that gives you an idea of what's going on there. What doesn't show up in these numbers is the number of price reductions that we see. So many properties, when I go in to do a CMA or a comparative market analysis, I will see so many of these properties when I'm looking at the comps that have multiple price reductions. They're on the market for a very long time because they're not pricing things appropriately. Agents don't know how to price things correctly for the market that we're in. And so you'll see a lower percentage to original list price because they're not getting that correct out of the gate. Now, the median time to contract, this is also up pretty significantly as well. It's up 21.4% over last year. Last year in quarter one, it took 42 days to get a property under contract. And this year in quarter one, 2026, it's coming in at 51 days to get a property under contract. So that means it's taking a little less than 2 months to get your home under contract. And then to get to the finish line and actually close it, we're at 90 days from the time you list it to the time it actually sells. 90 days is a median time to sale, and that is also up 11.1% over last year. And it took 81 days last year, and this year we're coming in at 90 days. So that means if your home is on the market, you can expect it to take 3 months to actually get to the finish line and close it. Now, what I'll tell you, this is generic median data for all of Tampa Bay, okay? So when I go in and I do a CMA or a market analysis for your particular home within a 1 mile radius of your property, within 20% of the square footage, closing in the last 90 days, 6 months at the longest, I'm looking at that. I'm going to tell you what the prices are like in your neighborhood and also how long you can expect your home to be on the market and actually how long you can expect to close. And that is going to be very different from one neighborhood and one community to the next. As a matter of fact, the absorption rate, which is what I went over or what I haven't went over yet, but we'll talk about in a minute, it's very different from one neighborhood to the next. So we're going to go over, again, hyper-local data for all of Tampa Bay. If you want something more specific for your home and your neighborhood, I would highly encourage you to reach out to us. You can call or text our off-air number, which is 813-377-2775, and I'll get back to you and get you a better market analysis for your particular home. 813-377-2775. All right, new pending home sales. This is down 3.2% also from last year, coming in at 10,837 home sales went pending in quarter one for all of Tampa Bay. The number of new listings, that's down a little bit as well. So what does that mean? Not as many people put their home on the market. 9.5% less people put their home on the market in quarter one of 2026 than they did in quarter one of 2025. So the number of new listings on the market for 4 counties, single-family homes in every price range is coming in at 13,547. Pending inventory. This is down 6.2%. So that means homes that actually came on the market, how many actually went under contract, right? So the number of new listings I told you was 13,547. And the number of pending home sales was 10,837. Well, the number of pending inventory is 4,625. Again, 1 quarter, stuff is sitting on the market a little longer. That's how all that stuff shakes out. Active inventory, right? So we're talking about what went pending. So 4,625 went under contract in the first quarter, but the number of active homes on the market was 12,098. And that is also down 5.8% over quarter one in 2025. Now, the number of months supply of homes. So the absorption rate, the supply and demand. I love to see this data and this information because last year, in quarter one of 2025, we were at a 4-month absorption rate. Well, that's still a seller's market. And we have seen an improvement in quarter one of 2026 coming in at 3.6 months supply of homes, meaning there's less inventory than there was last year in quarter one, 2025. So we're down 7.5% on our absorption rate. That is an excellent, excellent thing for the Tampa Bay market. It means our market is improving. We have definitely balanced out and stabilized as the market would have it. And I want to get into some other data and information because this is pretty new. Without reinventing the wheel, we pull our information from Florida Realtors. I've given them kudos a number of times here on Tampa Home Talk because they do a phenomenal job pulling data and information and sharing that with realtors, Florida Realtors. And you can pull this information for all over Florida. And this data and information is specifically to Tampa Bay. The number of closed sales by price. What I love about this particular market update is there are some additional price points layered. So they actually got rid of under 100,000, which is good because really under 200,000 is good comparative data. And they've actually given some additional price points right around that median home price. So why is that important? Because it helps us break down where there is more traffic in certain price points. This is really important and it's huge. I'm going to dive into this information and this data and what it means. So under 200,000, there was 369 closed sales. That's down 15.6% over quarter one in 2025. What does that mean? Well, there's almost 16% less properties available that closed under 200,000. So affordability and our median price points are holding steady, but these lower price points are being snapped up still by investors, perhaps first-time home buyers and things like that. Now, 200,000 to 299,999, that is 1401. So that's down 2.2% over last year. We had 2,478 home sales close in the 300,000 to 399,999. This is really important because listen to the next piece of information and I'll explain to you what this means. 400,000 to 499,999, we had 1,539 home sales close. That is down 10.8% over last year. But what's the important part about these three little pieces of this information? Well, it tells you that most of the buyers that are buying homes are between 300,000 and 399,999. Most of the activity is in that price point. As a matter of fact, it's the bulk of the activity. It's 2,478 home sales. And when you look at 200,000 to 299, that was 1401. And then you add 1599, which is 400,000 to 499. You combine those and it's darn close to where all the home sales are occurring in that 300,000 to 399,999 price. What does that mean? I'll tell you in just a minute as I wrap up this data. So 500,000 to 599, we had 895 home sales. 600,000 to 699, we had 501 home sales close. 700,000 to 799. I love how Florida Realtors has broken this price point down. Thank you, because this is so important as you're looking to price things, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But 335 home sales occurred in that 700,000 to 799,999 price point. 800,000 to 899,999. 212 home sales occurred in that price point. 900,000 to 999. 155 home sales. And then over $1 million had 537 sales. All right, and I'm going to break down over $1 million price point in just a moment. And before I do, I'm going to tell you why this information is so important and why I'm so happy that Florida Realtors actually is breaking this data down by better price points. Well, before these price points, I would have to pull the data to show where they were before, but the pricing was too clumped up, meaning if you're going in and you're looking at how to price a listing, and let's say, I'm going to give a great example. I told you most of the home sales are 300,000 to 399,999. Let's say I go into a neighborhood and I'm pulling prices in that neighborhood, and the market data is showing that the valuation on that property is between $375,000 and $425,000. Let's say that's my range for that particular price on that home for my CMA. This additional data is really important because depending on the seller's situation and how long maybe they don't have a lot of time to be on the market, or they don't want to experience showing after showing a multiple price reduction, I would highly encourage them to price their home at $400,000, or really that $399,999. I'm probably going to suggest $400,000 just because you're going to capture two groups of buyers. But why is this important at $400,000 versus that higher number at $425,000, which if I'm giving a seller a price point and I say your home value is worth between $375,000 and $425,000, I'm going to encourage you probably to price closer to $400,000 depending on the condition of your home. That also determines where you might go on price. But if you're at $400,000, there's a couple things there. You're going to pick up the bulk of the buyer traffic, which is closing under that $399,999 price point. But you are also going to pick up that next group of buyers, which is closing in the $400,000 to $499,000 price point. Super, super important. And it's so strategic, like an agent like me that has done this for 32 years, has sold thousands of homes and understands this information and this data. And I can break it down not only in a metro standpoint, but for your particular community. It's so important because it tells you how and where you should price your home. And that's the difference between a pro that shows up and someone that is like, I don't know, maybe we should try this price point. The next thing you know, you're 5 or 6 price reductions later, you're frustrated at your agent. There's no solid marketing plan. You don't know how your listing is performing. There's so many details in what goes into what a true professional does when they show up to sell your home. Let's talk about over $1 million real quick on closed sales. So $1 million rather to 1.24999, 180 home sales closed in that price point. 1.25 to 1.4999, 123 home sales closed in that price point. 1.5 million to just under 2 million at 1.9999, 105 home sales occurred in that price point. Interesting thing here, this is up 22.1% in this particular price point over last quarter in 2025. $2 million to $299,999. We had 82 home sales. This is up 49.1% over last year. That is freaking huge. That means there's more buyers buying in that price point. But if you're over $1 million, that sweet spot is just over $1 million, but under 1.24999. 3 million to 4.999 million, just under 5 million. 40 home sales, and then we significantly drop off a cliff. There was only 6 of you guys that sold for over $5 million into just under the $10 million price point. $10 million or greater, there was only 1 home sale over last quarter. Florida Realtors, you guys knocked it out of the park with the breakdown on this data. Thank you for giving us better information that we can give to our clients, and hence a better update that I can give you. It would take me hours upon hours upon hours to prepare this data for you, and we pay dearly for it, and I'm happy to do so because the information, quite frankly, is absolutely amazing that Florida Realtors gives us. And then really quickly, just to chat about the new listings on the market. You know what? I'm going to do a snapshot and put this in the video because it's a lot of information to break down. But I will tell you, again, most of the properties sitting on the market and the new listings are $400,000 to $499,999, 2,664 home sales on the market. But I just told you guys that most of the buyer traffic is $300,000 to $399,999. And the number of new listings on the market is 3,532. So really incredible information. This is a lot of stuff to break down in a very, very short amount of time. If you'd like some more information on what your home can sell for, what our 43-point marketing plan looks like, and how we can effectively sell your home, give you regular weekly updates, let you know what's going on after every single showing, and communicate with you better than you've ever had on a home you've ever sold in a market that matters because it's changing. This is not 2022 anymore. give us a call or a text. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. I'm happy to break that down for you. If you want a CMA for your house, just text CMA and your address to 813-377-2775. Before we wrap up this episode and put a bow on it, I do want to go over the number of distressed properties. What does that mean? Well, traditional compared to foreclosures or short sales, and there are more of those than there have been in the prior years. So the number of traditional home sales that closed in quarter one was 8,321, and that's down 7% over last year for 8,952. The number of foreclosures, that's up 1.5% over last year. There was 66 home sales in quarter one that were a foreclosure, and this year we're coming in at 67. So nothing huge, one more, but 67 properties were actually a foreclosure that are single family. Condos are a different animal. If you've got a condo, reach out to me. Maybe I'll do a separate show just on a breakdown for the condo market because it is a different animal than what we're talking about today on single family. And the number of closed home sales on short sales, this is up 325%. There was only 8 properties that were a closed short sale in quarter one of 2025. And this year we're coming in quarter one with 34 properties that came in as a short sale. What does this mean? Well, let me tell you why there's more short sales. People are upside down. They owe more on their home than they can sell it for. Things happen. Someone might have bought a home in 2022 and they're now getting divorced in 2026 and they have to sell their home. There's a very good chance if you bought in 2022 or 2023 that you might be a little upside down from when you bought your property. And if that happens, you'll be a short sale. And it takes a skilled person like me to help navigate you through that. I've done multiple of these in my career. But it's important. We'll see this number continue to rise. In my opinion, we will see more short sales hit the market. And the reason why is the economy is tight right now. Things cost more money. Groceries cost more money. Everything that you buy costs more money than it did a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And it's not going to change. That's inflation. And people, quite frankly, are we're also seeing some stuff in the job market where people are getting jobs cut. That will affect if a property goes on the market as a short sale or a foreclosure. This is a lot of information that I broke down in a very short amount of time. I want to try to keep these episodes pithy, packed with a load of information that is really helpful to you. Feel free to change the speed on this and slow it down. I can't imagine you're going to speed it up or rewatch it, rewind it multiple times. If you got some value out of this episode, please share, like, and subscribe this. We would love to give you this regular market updates at a minimum once a quarter, probably once a month. And more importantly, if you want this information for you or your particular home, let me break it down for you and tell you what it means to you in this particular real estate market. I'm Katrina Madewell. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Remember, love where you live, or we're going to fix it.